but I can see end stream here. It seems like it went live. I don't know if
It's now live. We are
it's
now
not
live officially. So let's just give it a minute, Vitali, before you do the introduction, and then we'll hand over to Ravi. Ali's on time. Wonderful. Sonia, perfect.
Hello, everyone.
Nigel, of course he's here. Our day's been excellent. We've had an event at the Ned. I'm in the Ned right now, in a hotel room. We've had a fantastic event. We had about 60 CROs and sales leaders, so it was really good. I can
Nice, man.
see, yeah, that was really good. I can see Luke's in the room. Josh, let us know how your morning started. Okay, so Vitali, if you want to do Ravi's introduction, and then we'll hand over the mic to Ravi.
Yes. So, hello, everyone. This week's expert, Ravi Rajani, is a renowned speaker, storyteller, and coach. He knows that it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it. With a background in sales and business development at companies including Citi, Prisana, and Fly Now Pay Later, his mission is to help B2B SaaS sales teams present the story, solution, and message in a way that grabs attention, builds trust, and wins new business without competing on price. Ravi, I'll give it to you.
What's happening, ladies and gents? What's good? So I was telling James earlier this morning, I was like, man, I'm out for the count. I need to channel my inner Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. It's what happens when you've got a 6-month-old daughter who's always sick. It's crazy. But listen, let's take it to the chat function, because this is one of those workshops which is interactive. I don't want to be just talking at you. So type yes if I've got your attention. Type yes in the chat function if I have your attention, people. All right. Don't be shy now. Come on, Ali, Chris, Josh, Kurt, Luke, Nigel, type yes in the chat if I've got your attention. All right, beautiful, beautiful. I need a few more yeses. Come on, you've got to stroke my ego, please. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So let's take it back, okay? Let's take it back to the early 90s. And I specifically remember staring into the eyes of a 4'11" stone cold killer. And in that moment, I was like, man, I'm down on points, real talk. But I knew I had everything it takes to win that karate competition, right? So I did, in that moment, what I knew best, people, okay? I took a deep breath. I took a step back. And I took a look to my left. And I see my mum, okay? Now, Indian mums are crazy. I think mums in general are crazy, but Indian mums are next level, right? So she's screaming, right, in the stands, waving her arms, and she's like, Rav, sweep his legs, sweep his legs. And I'm thinking, seriously? I'm a grown man. I'm 8 years old. I don't need my mum's advice about how to win in a karate competition. I don't need your help. I got this. I'm a grown man. So I took another step back, took a deep breath, look to my left, or right rather, for advice, and I see my sensei, and he's kneeling down on one knee, and people, I couldn't even hear the words that were coming out of his mouth, because in that moment, it felt like I was playing in the FA Cup final. The noise was literally deafening in the room. But guess what, Ali? Guess what, Josh? Guess what, Sonia? It didn't matter, because I was a grown man. I got this. I don't need your help. So I took my stance. The referee blew the whistle, and I moved forward with a predictable right. I moved forward with a predictable left, and all of a sudden, I get popped in the nose. I look down, and my gi has gone from pure white to spotted red. And I'm thinking, man, I've got nobody except myself to blame in this specific moment. Because in hindsight, ladies and gents, I was doing the same thing over and over and over again, but I was expecting a different result. I was predictable in the eyes of my opponent. I tell you what, right? If I think about sales in 2023 and demos and discovery calls and the way we interact with other human beings, I feel something similar. I don't know about you, but often conversations are predictable. We're doing the same thing, yet we want to yield different results. So in today's presentation, what I want to do in the next 54 minutes is give you one story that you can share to reduce the gap between prospect interest and demo execution so you can truly increase win rates, collapse time in the sales cycle, and be positioned as somebody who's unique and memorable, not like me in that karate competition. You know what I'm saying? So ladies and gents, welcome to this masterclass. My name is Ravi Rajani, and hey, as a keynote speaker and storytelling coach, my job is really to work with B2B sales teams across the US and Europe to help them ditch feature selling and sell more through the art of storytelling. So type yes in the chat if I've still got your attention, people. Okay, you need to keep feeding me because I need to know if I've got your attention. Type yes in the chat. Vitali's giving me a yes. Who else is going to give me a yes? Who else is going to give me a yes? All right, Ali. James is like, yes, sir. Okay, brilliant, brilliant. Kurt's giving me a Y. I'll take that, Kurt. I'll take that, brother. Okay, beautiful. So listen, I need to ensure that you walk away with a very specific ROI at the end of this presentation. And as a result, I want to teach you 3 things. Does that sound fair? Does it sound fair that if I accomplish the following 3 things, then this would be a success, right? Does that sound fair? Well, actually, you need to know what those 3 things are. So let me tell you that, and then you can tell me if it sounds fair, all right? The first thing I want to do is teach you my 5 key ingredients for crafting an irresistible sales story. This isn't Michelle from American Pie. This one time at band camp. No. This is about storytelling that inspire prospects to take action. The second thing is I'm going to teach you a sales story framework that I've taught many companies and individual sellers for becoming a world-class communicator. Because the truth is if we don't have a framework to follow initially, we can spiral off to Pluto. And before we know it, it's 4 minutes later, and we've not shared a story, we've just shared a monologue. This isn't Shakespeare, all right? Learn how to craft a magnetic elevator story that sparks curiosity, interest, and intrigue in less than 60 seconds, right? And it's funny, when I left the world of investment banking and corporate sales, I moved into the world of early stage startups, and the same thing would happen every single time, Ali. The same thing would happen every time, Kurt. Here's what would happen, okay? So I'd go to a networking event, and I'd have this shiny badge attached to my shirt, and somebody would come over, Josh, and they'd say, "Oh, Ravi, never heard of that startup. That's interesting. So what do you guys do?" And I'd do the same thing every time. I'd say, "Okay, so it's like it's kind of crazy, like, you know, I mean, I can't really talk about it because we're in stealth mode, but I mean, so like it's AI for like hedge funds and like it's like a news feed with data, and I mean it's just crazy, like so much going on. What about you though? What about you?" And Sarah would look at me and be like, "Okay, cool. I'm just going to go grab a drink, Rav. I'll catch you soon, though. I'll catch you soon." And that would happen every single time. And maybe, my friends, you have experienced something similar. I don't want you to feel that pain no more, okay? I want you to describe what you do, who you are, in a punchy way that sparks intrigue, all right? Sonia says, "Am I the only one smiling and laughing through the masterclass? So much energy." Thank you, Sonia. Appreciate you, my friend. Appreciate you. So let's take it back, okay? Because before we really get into, I suppose, me teaching you how to craft this story, I need to get you hyped up on the idea of how story can actually help you, all right? So check this. 2 dudes walk into a thrift store in New York. It sounds like the beginning of a bad joke, but stay with me, all right? So these 2 dudes buy up a ton of items which add no intrinsic value. As we would say, tapped, right? Stuff you get in your stocking from your grandparents that you have to pretend you like, right? So I'm talking about toy planes, toy Mustangs, unboxed birthday candles, a pen, a snow globe, right? No intrinsic value. And they bought a ton of these items, around 100, for approximately $1.25 to $1.29. And they said, "You know what? I've got an idea. Why don't we upload these items to eBay and see how much we can sell them for?" And these 2 dudes were journalists, and they said, "You know what? Instead of putting the features of each product, why don't we put a fictitious story attached to each product and see if we can increase the value of it?" And they called this the Significant Objects Project. And they were journalists, so they rang up 100 of their friends who agreed to do this. And the cool thing is the people who bought these items also got the story in a frame. But hey, I digress. So here's what happened, right? Things like a ceramic bear, which acted as a salt and pepper shaker, they wrote a narrative, or their buddies wrote a narrative, that this salt and pepper shaker was the centerpiece of a high stakes poker game. They bought it for a couple of bucks and it sold for 36. And the crazy thing is, overall, they sold these items for $3,612.51. Now, some sources, Ali, some sources, Chris, do say that they sold for 8K. But I like to go with the official stuff, all right? So 3.6K. Now, here's the crazy thing, people. Here's the insane thing, Luke. Here's what happened. They did the following thing. They used storytelling as a tool to elicit an emotion, create a connection, and inspire a conversion, right? I want you to remember this chain reaction, okay? Thoughts, okay? Thoughts, or rather emotions, provoke thought, and thoughts initiate action. That's what I was trying to say, right? Emotions provoke thought, and thoughts initiate action, okay? We need to learn how to elicit an emotion, create a pattern interrupting perspective that shifts the perspective of our prospects, and inspire them to take action, right? But it sounds great, Rav. It sounds really fun, but where do we begin, right? How do we actually start crafting these stories? Well, I believe it begins with really understanding what a sales story is, right? Here's my definition, not the definition, my definition, okay? A customer-centric narrative that creates a human-to-human conversation, accelerates trust, and transports your prospect to a world where they go from pain to glory with less resistance. Now, I don't know about you, but when it comes to high-ticket items, not like a packet of gum or something low-ticket, but high-ticket items, I've never bought something from somebody if I haven't connected with them or their company beforehand. I need to deeply connect with somebody if I'm going to buy something for a lot of cheddar, right? a lot of money. So really, if we take that definition of what a story is, then really around us are stories every single day. But what do they look like? So the question is here's a snapshot of my friends over at Recurly. Keep a good thing growing. Recurly is a subscription and billing platform trusted by leading brands to grow their recurring revenue faster, smarter, and stronger. The question is, ladies and gents, is that a story? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat. Is that a story? Yes or no? And put why. Put why, okay? Let's be intentional and really think about, why are we choosing the answer we're choosing? Okay, Ali, I love it. I love your response, but I want to know why. Okay. Josh, Luke, Kurt, I love the responses, and Vitali, but why? Why is it not a story? Why is this not a story? Okay, brilliant. No emotion, no inspiration to act. I like it, Kurt. Kurt, what was the last movie you watched in the cinema, brother? I'll tell you what mine was. Mine was Creed 3. I'm obsessed with the Rocky franchise. But what was the last movie that you watched in the cinema or on Netflix? He's thinking. He's thinking. He wants to make sure he doesn't put Bridesmaids. No, I'm messing, Kurt. I'm messing. Tar. I don't know what Tar is, but it sounds good. All right, so let's run with that. So in the movie Tar, there was probably a main character. There was probably somebody inciting a lot of conflict. There was probably an end resolution to that story that you could get behind. It was probably attention grabbing. Maybe at points your hands are sweating. And maybe afterwards you could see yourself in the pains, desires, and transformation of that main character, right? There you go, Kurt. Perfect, brother. So Ali says, because the narrative doesn't tell me anything, why does it keep a good thing growing, or how? Yeah, exactly. Now, here's the thing. I want to be clear. We're not dissing Recurly, right? We're not in the game of dissing companies, but they may not have intentionally been trying to craft a story. But what I'm trying to show you is what a story actually doesn't look like and does look like. What about this? This says customer story. Now secure streamlines connections, reduces over invoice rate by 84% in just 1 year. Yes or no, people? Yes or no, and why? Yes or no, people, and why? Yes or no, people, and why? I'll check that link out, Kurt. I'll check that link out, brother. Okay, so Vitali says yes. Interesting. What about the rest of you? Huh? Is this a story? Don't worry, I won't bite if you put yes or no. I'm a friendly dude. I'm 5'8" and I have no bite, I promise. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Ali said, no, it's just metrics. It doesn't show why. Okay, interesting, interesting. Let's look at it again. Come on, ladies and gents. Same as before, says Kurt. Okay. But it says customer story here. Here's the thing. Where's the main character? Where's the intention grabbing hook? Where's the arc? I feel like it's missing all of these key ingredients. But the question is what are those key ingredients, right? So there was a dude called Ralph Emerson who said the creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn. And I actually genuinely believe deeply that the creation of 1,000 relationships can lie in one story. And that's exactly why I've come up with something called the Acorn Checklist, aka the 5 key ingredients for crafting a compelling sales story. Do I have your attention? Type yes in the chat. And don't lie to me. You're allowed to put no. I've got thick skin. It's all good. Yes or no? Do I have your attention? Do I have your attention, people? Do I have your attention? Type yes or no in the chat. Ali says yes. Okay, appreciate you, Ali. Kurt says maybe. Okay, my job is to win Kurt over now. Maybe from Kurt. Yeah, exactly. Kurt's playing hard to get. Kurt's playing hard to get, man. Kurt's playing hard to get. All right, I got to win you over, Kurt. I got to win you over, brother. So the 5 key ingredients are an acronym. ACORN is an acronym, right? So A stands for attention grabbing. Here's what I mean, okay? Let's say I'm delivering a presentation like I am now, and I started the presentation with, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to this presentation today. I deeply appreciate your time. After spending several years on the job, no one cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's not exciting. It's not innovative, and it does not spark attention. Here's the thing, right, Kurt? How can I teach you something, brother, if I don't have your attention? So the goal is get attention, keep attention, so you can earn the opportunity to solve somebody's problem. Say it with me, all right? Get attention, keep attention, and then earn the opportunity to solve somebody's problem, all right? If you're in the office right now, I hope you're doing it, all right? Get attention, keep attention, and then earn the opportunity to solve somebody's problem. That's A. It's got to be attention grabbing. I'm going to show you how to do that with your elevator story, all right? C stands for, in the ACORN checklist, your story must contain a relatable human being. Okay? Here's a classic issue. Here's a classic issue I see all the time, Luke. With companies who I'm teaching how to share, for example, a customer success story, they'll say things like, we helped Cisco increase their bottom line by X%, right? Insert Cisco for whatever company. That's not a story, right? That's not a story. That's a message, no doubt. But I can't see myself in Cisco. But I can see myself in Ali Mansell Cook, the VP of sales over at Cisco, who lives in London with her 3 kids and dog Harper, right? All of a sudden, there's a human being that I'm rooting for, aka the main character. All right. O stands for your story must organically unfold within a simple story arc. Here's what I mean. I used to have a friend called Rich, and every time I used to see Rich, the same thing would happen. He'd say, dude, listen, I'm going to tell you a story, and I'm a sucker for a good story. So I'd say, all right, man, tell me. 15 minutes later, the craziest thing would happen, Kurt, right? There'd be a beginning, there'd be a middle, there'd be an end, there'd be another beginning. And by the end of it, I've definitely wasted 15 minutes of my life, but I was too polite. I never said, dude, I mean, that was awful. This is what would happen. So we need to ensure our stories have a beginning, middle, and end. And I'm going to share with you the exact story arc that you can use. All right. R stands for reveal a villain. Here's what I'm talking about, Ali. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with the movie Aladdin. Too obsessed, actually, kind of weird. And one day my parents took me to Disneyland. This is a true story. I can't make this up, right? My parents took me to Disneyland and I'm waiting in the queue to get Aladdin's autograph. And I've got my autograph book, right, with me, my bum bag. It felt great, right? And all of a sudden, from the corner of my eye, I see Jafar. Exactly, Ali. I see Jafar. And I'm thinking, you know what? I don't really like this dude, but I'm here. I might as well get Homeboy's autograph, right? So I start waiting in the queue, right, for Jafar. And I get to the front, and I can't make this up. He stamps on my foot. He stamps on my foot and refuses to sign the autograph. No joke. He does not sign it, and he stamps on my foot. So I stamped on his foot back, and I think it was a part of the show, right? But I was so mad, and I got home, and every single time, Luke, that I would watch Aladdin, I was rooting for him even more because of the turmoil that the villain Jafar put me through, right? So every good story needs conflict, okay? Every story needs good conflict. And then we've got N, right? N stands for nurture trust, okay? N stands for nurture trust. Sonia says, Disney fan here, you got my attention. Sonia, you know what I'm looking forward to? I've got a 6-month-old daughter and I can't wait for literally just sitting there watching Disney Plus with her. Can't wait for that. So nurture trust. Here's what I mean. Every good call to action in a story meets the audience with where they are at today. Here's an example. Imagine if I met my wife for the first time when I met her and I said, hey, I mean, do you fancy marrying me? She would have been like, whoa, right? It's like, well, what's that about? That's too quick. That's too much too quick. So what did I do? I asked her out for a date, right? And the date didn't go that well, people, our first date. She ghosted me for a long time afterwards. She said I asked too many questions like the FBI, but that's another story, right? But I needed to make sure I meet her with where she is at in this moment. So remember, nobody cares about your bank balance. Nobody cares about your commission. You need to ensure that you are fostering a human-to-human conversation. And that means a call to action doesn't have to be a product pitch. It's not asking for a discovery call. Maybe it's asking a high impact question to simply yield a response. Okay. So are you with me? Are you with me? Are you with me? Type yes in the chat if I still got your attention. All right. I'm trying to channel my inner Jordan here, my inner Michael Jordan. Okay. For those of you that missed it, I said at the beginning I was sick and I was trying to channel my inner Kobe and MJ. All right. Vitali says yes. Oh, cut. Maybe, man. Damn. Cut. Where do you live, man? I'm gonna have to send you a gift after this to truly win you over. Send you some flowers, brother. That's what I'll do. All right. So going back to really the O, which is organically unfolding within a simple story arc. Here's what I mean. Okay. Here's an example of a story arc. And I think this is the most simplest version out there. Okay. Check this. Context, conflict, turning point, transformation. Okay? Context, conflict, turning point, transformation. Context, that's when we introduce the main character, date, time, and setting. I remember when I met my guy Kurt at this sales confidence masterclass back in March in 2023. That's the beginning of the story. I've inserted Kurt as the human being who's the main character. And I've added some context. You see what I'm saying? Conflict, okay? Conflict. Now, conflict doesn't necessarily have to be a human being. It could be the regulatory climate. It could be COVID. It could be the tech layoffs. It could be SVB going, bust, like whatever it could be. You got to think about who is the villain in the eyes of your ideal clients when it comes to sales stories. So then with the conflict, I could say, man, and I'm trying so hard to impress Kurt. I'm doing everything to get him to like me. But you know what? I knew that if I didn't win him over, there is no chance he's ever going to learn something from me. And deep down, I felt hurt, man. I felt upset. I felt hurt, Kurt. What am I going to do? What am I going to do, man? And then I move over to the turning point. This is the aha moment. And in that moment, I realized, you know what? Kurt is a human being. All I've got to try and do is connect with Kurt like a human being. Because, after all, it's all about connection. And the transformation is Kurt and I become best friends. He ends up being the best man at my wedding when I renew my vows with my wife and we live happily ever after, right? The transformation of that story, right? So you see what that is? Pretty simple. Context, conflict, turning point, transformation. Is that clear for everybody? I want to make sure everything is crystal clear before we move on. Kurt says, hooray, yeah, man. Best man, man. You're the best man at when I renew my vows. I nearly said next wedding. Don't tell my wife. Right. So is that clear? Is that clear? Context, conflict, turning point, transformation. We want to post when you meet Kurt. Exactly. So is this clear? Context, conflict, turning point, transformation. Is that arc clear? Nod your head or type yes in the chat. I can't see you nodding your head, so I'd prefer you type yes in the chat. Right. And if it's not, that is totally cool. I will dig deeper into it. Okay. Okay, cool. Brilliant. We get a yes from Kurt. Woo. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're about 30 minutes through, and here's what we've learned. We've learned the power of story and how when you actually add stories to your product suite, it can really increase its value in the eyes of your potential clients. Also, you've learned what a story is and what a story isn't, and the 5 key ingredients for crafting a sales story. But you know what? I'll be real. I feel bad. I feel bad because there's a problem. There's a problem. I feel like I've kind of misled you here, right? Not managed to apply the arc to real life so that it looks natural. Yeah, Kurt. That's the thing. You know, people often feel like sharing stories off the cuff is an art, and it is. It really is. But let me hit you with this. It takes Kevin Hart 12 to 18 months to come up with 1 hour's worth of comedy material. Right? So if we think about what it takes to be a storyteller, it's a skill that we have to practice. So when I'm working with teams or individuals, whoever it might be, I really get them to understand that it's a muscle. You just got to build it. You just have to build it. But I digress, right? So I'm a little bit upset because the problem is the story that I just shared with you about Kurt and I living happily ever after. The problem is that story wouldn't connect and convert in the sales process. Imagine being on a call with a client and I'm sharing a story about myself and Kurt, right? It's like adds no business value to anybody, which is exactly why I want to show you something called the Acorns checklist, right? Because we're missing the S. The S means it should add business value within a sales story framework, okay? And in just a minute, I'm going to show you the exact framework that you can repeat and rinse really at every stage of the sales process to share high impact stories, okay? Nod your head. You with me? You with me? Nod your head, even though I can't see you. You with me? All right, good. So the story framework, the sales story framework is 4 key steps, okay? Step number 1, a hook, okay? A pattern interrupting hook that makes your prospect give you their undivided attention. So really think about when you're scrolling on LinkedIn, posts that you actually read that makes you stop the scroll. I can almost guarantee you that they've got an effective hook, because otherwise you're not going to click on see more. It's very similar, right? And then I'm not going to lie, I Miyagi'd you, right? I Miyagi'd you. And here's what I mean, right? Remember context, conflict, turning point, transformation? Well, then we include the story, right? Then we include the traditional story arc. And then we explain, this is key, Kurt. This is key, Sonia. This is absolutely key, Ali. We've got to focus on the prospect impact. We've got to focus on relevancy, meaning how does this story impact your prospect and what does it mean to them? What does it mean to them? And then we end with a CTA, a contextual call to action that focuses on trust and the next stage of the buyer's experience. Okay, so take a snapshot of this. Take a mental snapshot of this. And really, this is what it looks like. If you're writing out a script for trying to share a story with a client, I would get you to follow this exact framework. Here's why, okay? We have to imitate before we can innovate. We have to imitate before we can innovate, right? Here's what I mean. When I was a kid, I stumbled into theater, right? And I would get these scripts that were 50 pages long. I wouldn't try and wing it from the get-go. Here's what would happen. I would learn my lines till I was bleeding in my eyes, right? And what then would happen is I earned the opportunity to break certain parts of the framework and ad-lib and create some more fun moments that would ideally connect with the audience. But I needed to follow the framework and the script first. The things that you love are scripted. The movie Titanic was scripted. The TV show Friends was scripted. Kurt, I know it hurts, but even Tar was scripted, brother. Even Tar was scripted, man. So here's the thing. I don't believe scripts are bad. I believe it's bad when we allow scripts to own us. Our job is to make them sound unique, sound different, and sound memorable, okay? So I teach so many different stories at different stages of the sales process. I'm actually finishing up crafting a founder story for a client over in Atlanta. I'm working with a team very, very soon to help them craft their elevator story and customer success story and a story which handles objections. But we can't do all of that today. I've got 28 minutes. So I want to make sure I help you walk away with a punchy elevator story. Okay, a punchy elevator story that does exactly this. Shorten the gap between prospect intrigue and demo execution. Okay, shorten the gap between prospect intrigue and demo execution. The shorter the gap, the shorter the sales cycle, the higher the likelihood that you can win that relationship. Okay, the higher the likelihood that you can win that relationship. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was at this event for Pavilion. I don't know if many of you have heard of Pavilion, but Pavilion. And I was sitting there over dinner and I was hosting this table and there were about 10 people on this table. And we were going round saying, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Right? And I knew there were some parents on that table. So it came round to my turn. Somebody said, so what do you do, Rav? What do you do? And I said, well, you know when parents tell their kids bedtime stories to get them to fall asleep? And they were like, yeah. And I said, well, I teach B2B salespeople how to craft sales stories that get their prospects to take action. And they were like, oh, what do you mean, right? What I'm looking for in that moment, in less than 8 seconds, is wrinkles on the forehead, right? I want them having Botox. I want them so wrinkled, people, right? Because I want confusion, because it's attention grabbing. Then I want the tilt of the head. And then I want, tell me more. Okay. So that earned me the opportunity to share an elevator story. Okay. To share an elevator story. So I'm going to give you an example of one version of mine, and then I'm going to dissect it, and then I'm going to give you a framework so you can walk away and actually go craft your own. Okay. I haven't heard from you in a while, people. This making sense? Yeah, this is making sense. Type yes in the chat. This is making sense. Type yes in the chat. This is making sense. Okay, Vitali said yeah. Ali says yeah. James says yeah. Chris says yeah. Kurt says top. Sonia says yeah. Okay, brilliant, brilliant. So I'm going to walk you through this script. Okay. Kurt didn't say maybe. I agree, Ali. I think I'm winning Kurt over slowly, right? I think Kurt can't help it. I think Kurt is starting to like me, man. I think Kurt, you're starting to like me, brother. I know you don't want to admit it, man, but I think we're getting there, right? So I'm going to walk you through an elevator story example now. So Sarah, the prospect, says, so what do you guys actually do? And John would say, look, my marketing team are going to hate what I'm about to say, but Sarah, imagine for a second that you're the VP of sales for a CRM solution based in San Francisco. But here's the thing, my friend, you're secretly anxious about hitting your number every quarter, and your headache won't disappear because your sales team is stuck feature selling and can't close deals. And I know that a lot of teams really want to create a unique experience for buyers that helps them increase ACV and also sell in a way that builds trust. And hey, Sarah, that's the exact thing that I'm obsessed about. What we actually do is I help B2B sales teams like this ditch feature selling so they can sell more through storytelling. But hey, enough about me, Sarah. What do you do? Okay. Now, I'm going to walk through the psychology behind all of that in a second and how that fits into the arc. But that is less than 60 seconds, probably anywhere between 45 to 55, depending on the pace that it's being delivered. When you practice it enough, here's the crazy thing. The goal is to ensure that you feel like it's the 100th time you're delivering it, but your prospect should feel like it's the first time they're ever hearing it, right? You've really got to learn it. Like I'm talking, once you craft yours, I'm talking 50 to 100 times worth of practice. I'm not joking. Because how can you add pitch, pace, intonation, emphasis, volume if you don't know what you're going to say? And how can you pivot on the spot if you don't know what you're going to say? Now, hopefully all of you can realize that something like this can be used in several scenarios. Outbound, networking events, trade shows, pretty punchy, right? So let's go through the psychology. So Sarah said, what do you guys actually do? And then John inserted a hook and he said, my marketing team are going to hate what I'm about to say. But now here's an example of another hook. Okay. So I was speaking at a sales kickoff over in Chicago in January, and I was running this exercise with a team. And one of the girls stood up and shared her elevator story. And her hook was, well, Ravi, from the experience that you've had of us, from what you've seen, what do you think we do? And I was like, whoa, that's dope, right? That was so good. Her hook was a question so that she could then frame her story around what perception I had of the business. Another one could be, listen, I've got two versions of the story, Sarah, a boring one and a fun one. Which one do you want to hear? Right now, you got to remember, this has to be contextual to your ICP, your buyer persona, and what would connect with them. But we need just a one-line hook, just a one-line hook. Okay. Then here's what we do. We add the context. Sarah, imagine for a second that you're the VP of sales for a CRM solution based in SF. But here's the thing. So here's what I've done, ladies and gents. Here's what I've done. I've suddenly and secretly made Sarah the main character of the story. And I've highlighted my ICP, right? My buyer persona. Okay. So when people talk about making your client the hero of a story, I think that gets thrown about all the time. What does it actually mean? Right? In this way, you are making the client the hero of the story. A classic example. It's about them, not you. So, Sarah, imagine for a second that you're the VP of sales for a CRM solution based in San Francisco. Here's the thing about the delivery, everybody, okay? So, Ali, check this. Which one connects with you more, okay, Ali? Scenario 1 or scenario 2? So, here's scenario 1. Sarah, imagine for a second that you're the VP of sales for a CRM solution based in San Francisco. All right? So, my pitch, my volume, I don't know. I wasn't a fan, but maybe you were. Maybe you were, Ali. Try this, okay? Scenario 2. Sarah, imagine for a second that you're the VP of sales for, I don't know, a CRM solution based in San Francisco. Okay, which one connects with you more? Number 1 or 2? Ali, number 1 or 2? Number 1 or 2? Oh, second. Okay, good. I'm glad you didn't say first because that would throw me off and I would have had to pretend that you said second. Okay, good. Okay, good. So remember, the tone and the conversational delivery is everything. It shouldn't sound rehearsed. It should really, really be focused on sounding conversational, like you're hanging out with a friend over dinner, right? And then we say, yeah, but here's the thing. You're secretly anxious about hitting your number every quarter. And your headache just won't disappear because your team is stuck selling features and struggling to close deals. So here's what I've done. I've talked about Sarah's hidden pain because I can tell you this, right? if you're selling into sales leaders, they're under a lot of pressure right now. And they're worried about things that can affect them personally. And calling that out will really ensure that you can make them feel seen, heard, and understood. Okay. The second thing is I've called out what the root cause of her pain is. So a headache won't disappear because the team is stuck selling features, right? And they can't close deals. Meaning, if they had that on lock, then her secret anxiousness about presenting her numbers to the board every quarter would disappear. Okay. Now, the turning point where we make Sarah feel like there's actually hope. You want to create a unique buying experience, increase ACV, and have your team sell in a way that builds trust. Now, note I've used the power of 3, meaning 3 is the lowest number of elements that the human brain needs to form a pattern. 3 little pigs, 3 musketeers, 3 wise men, right? It's not a coinky-dink, right? It's intentional, it's sticky, it's memorable. So when you're calling out pains and when you're talking, choose the rhythm of 3, 1 or 3, right? But 3 is a beautiful, it's memorable, okay? It's memorable. And then here's what I do. I give the transformation of the story, meaning, hey, I can help you, okay? That's the exact thing I'm obsessed about. Now, notice how I have really highlighted the word obsessed. Here's what I mean, right? Imagine if I was a doctor and you need to have a knee surgery and there's me and another dude. One of them, okay, me, tells you I'm obsessed with knees. That's the only thing I focus on. People fly from across the world just to show me their knees and get surgery done. And this other doctor goes, I do knees, but I also do bunion surgery. Right. I also sometimes take a look at nose reductions. And I mean, you're like, whoa, what the, right? I mean, I didn't ask for a buffet. You know what I'm saying? I asked for one person who can solve my problem in a deep way. It's like this. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but you know, when you go on a holiday to Europe and you can see the different restaurants where they've got pictures of Italian food, Indian food, Chinese food, and you're like, listen, homie, there's no way you're an expert at all 3, right? I don't want a bad stomach. I want somebody who's an expert at one thing. Showcase that in your story, okay? Here's the prospect impact, meaning what does it mean to them? So we help B2B sales teams like this. Here's the absolute key. I hope you're all listening to this, okay? Ditch feature selling so they can sell more through storytelling, meaning insert current strategy and then insert the new strategy to take them to the promised land. Current strategy is feature selling. New strategy is storytelling, okay? And you've got to make sure that's punchy. And then I say, what about you, Sarah? What do you do? Now, if any of you have ever read the book by, I forgot his name, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. He really talks at points about in that book about when you use somebody's first name, it actually activates certain parts of the brain. It's very, very interesting as to when you call somebody by their first name, not only do they feel seen, not only do they feel like you deeply understand them and have actually listened, because let's be real, most people don't listen, but it allows you to be memorable and it allows you to remember their name. Vitaly says, yeah, good book. I'm actually, I decided, you know what, this is a long book. I bought Blinkist and I was like, I'm going to finish this bad boy on Blinkist, right? So that's what I'm currently doing. So here's your template. Okay, here's your template. And I'm going to give you a link, by the way, that you can all go to download this, this template so you can craft your own after this. Okay. So Sarah says, so what do you guys actually do? We need an unexpected hook. And then we say, Sarah, imagine for a second that you're and we insert the DNA of our perfect human avatar, PHA. Okay, we're dealing with humans. Let's start talking about them. But here's the thing. You're secretly feeling anxious, remember, about presenting your numbers. So I insert the emotional state and their hidden pain. And then I call out their $1 million problem, AKA the flat foot. Okay, and here's what I mean by the flat foot. A little while ago, I hurt my back and I booked an appointment with my physio. I rang her up. I'm like, yo, Louise, listen, you need to do that thing where you just pop my back into place. Can you do that? She says, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow at 9. I said, cool. I'll see you at 9. The next morning, I'm sitting there on her long hospital bed and she's prodding around. She's like, oof, and I'm thinking, oh no, it's not a slip disc or something crazy, is it? And she goes, do you want the good news or the bad news? I was like, Louise, just give me the news. All right. She says, listen, it's curable, but it's got nothing to do with your lower back. And I said, well, it is, because that's where it hurts, Louise. And she said, nah, Rav, it's to do with your flat feet. Right? Your flat feet are causing instability in your knees, which is creating problems in your lower back. If we cure your flat feet, or at least give you some support from in your arch, everything will disappear. So when I'm talking about the flat foot, that's what I'm talking about here. In my story, it was feature selling. That was the flat foot, the underlying root cause that would cure Sarah's pain. And then I said, you want to sell in a way that builds trust, increases ACV, and provides people with a unique experience. Use the power of threes for the dream outcome. And then I tell you, that's the exact thing I'm obsessed about. We help B2B sales teams ditch feature selling and sell more through storytelling. And that's where you insert your value creation statement. Who you serve, the problem that you help them overcome, and the new vehicle to take them there. Okay? So really, you've got two choices here. Choice number one is use the template. Okay, use the template, and I'm going to give you the link right now, actually, that you can go to download this template. 1 second. So there you go. So you can download the story template through there, and you can go craft your own. Or if you're feeling snazzy, you can really go out there and you can craft your own from scratch. My recommendation, follow a template. Figure out if it connects with you or not and make it your own. Because, by the way, this isn't perfect. There's the pros and cons with this type of story. The pros are that it's short, punchy, it effectively uses storytelling, and hopefully captures somebody's attention and explains what you do in a unique way. The problem with something like this is you don't want to be presumptuous. I know you're struggling with this. I know you're struggling with that. Or they could go, well, you don't know me, right? You don't know me. You don't know what I'm struggling with. So there's loads of things that you may shift in accordance with your perfect human avatar or your buyer persona. But just remember, this should be a starting point. Now, here's the key, right? Take a look at this. Look at the ACORN checklist. A, attention grabbing. We've got a hook. C, contain a relatable human being, Sarah. O, it should organically unfold within a simple story arc. We've got that. R, reveal the villain, feature selling. N, nurture trust. The call to action doesn't say, would you like to book a call? It takes Sarah to simply asking what she does. And then S, it follows a sales story framework, people. A sales story framework. So who would like to hear about what happened to this dude? Who would like to hear about what happened to this dude? Type yes in the chat if you'd like to hear about what happened to this dude. Type yes, people. Oh, James is saying, yeah. And we're going to do Q&A in a second. Kurt says, sure. Yeah. So here's what happened, Kurt. I decided to listen to my mum. I sweep this dude's legs, right, Josh? He hit the floor. He hit the floor, and I won that match, right? I won that match, and I felt so good, man. It was so unpredictable, and it was so unexpected. He didn't know what had slapped him in the face. Now, I can't remember if I won the competition that day, but I remember how I felt, and I felt like a legend, right? Here's the problem, Kurt. Here's the problem, James. Here's the problem, Sonia. Here's what happened. I then became the dude that would sweep everybody's legs because I started to do that every single match. To the point where my sensei would say, come up with something different. He would scream it from the sidelines. Once again, I became predictable and I needed to innovate. And that's like salespeople, right? This framework may serve you now, but having this framework for the next year will do you a disservice if you're not tweaking and iterating for success. Kurt says, black belt by now? Man, Kurt, I quit. Dude, I quit. I got to brown belt second tag or third tag. I can't remember. And then I was like, man, I'm done with this. Like, I want to go out with my friends. I was a young kid and I was like, man, I have no interest in this. And I kind of wish I had taken it up, but hey, to get to black belt. But hey, there's always time. There's always time. Right, so here's what I'd like you to do, okay? If you enjoyed today, head on down to that link and download your elevator story guide where you can actually go out there and create your own. Now, I want to make sure that you have walked away with an ROI. So I just want to recap what we've discussed, okay? So discover the 5 key ingredients for crafting an irresistible sales story, right? I showed you a sales story framework, and then I taught you how to create an elevator story that sparks interest in less than 60 seconds. So ladies and gents, we've got 9 minutes here on the clock. I want to make sure that you can hit me with any questions to ensure that you can go out there and craft this with ease. So, hey, I don't know, James, can people unmute themselves, brother, or do we just filter questions from the chat?
Just filter questions from the chat.
Okay, cool. Cool. So, ladies and gents, any questions?
Ravi, under the circumstances, mate, I just really appreciate you and nailing that. That was phenomenal. Really, really powerful content, world-class stuff that I study, and great to see your delivery. So I really appreciate you stepping up and doing that.
No worries, mate. No worries. I appreciate everybody showing up and giving me their attention as well. Because listen, people say that, but I know time is scarce. So for you to give me your attention for 60 minutes straight, I do genuinely, I don't take that for granted. So thanks, James, and thanks, team. So do we have any questions? I want to make sure, you know, you've got everything you need to go and craft this story. Thank you, Sonia. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Ali. Thank you, Kurt. Appreciate it, man. Is there any questions? Do you have everything you need to go out there and craft this story and test it in your sales process? All right. Okay. Looks like we've got no questions. Oh, I will have questions when I start writing it. Nice one, Kurt. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do, right? Let me send you, I'm going against my advice of giving you more than one call to action here. But I'm going to put my LinkedIn handle down so you can connect with me on LinkedIn, right? There you go. There you go. Oh, Philip, awesome, man. Good to see you, brother. I didn't know you were there, man. Great presentation and covered so well. I have no questions. Thank you, man. That's a dream comment. Josh said, thanks, Ravi. Very good. Any further book recommendations on this topic? Not on this topic, but I have one that I think you'll absolutely love by Dr. Zoe Chance of Yale University called Influence is Your Superpower. Influence is Your Superpower. Incredible book, which really digs deep into what charisma is, how you can develop charisma, how to influence people without being sleazy and with being ethical. And there's one key takeaway, which I'd share with you all now. She says, there's something called the magic question, right? And Josh, she says the magic question is what would it take? So instead of saying to somebody, can I have 15 minutes in your diary? You'd say, what would it take to get 15 minutes in your diary next week? Why? Because this person starts to mentally rehearse, really not, can I give this person time? But mentally rehearse a roadmap of what needs to occur for them to give you their time. So when I connected with Zoe myself, I said, Zoe, what would it take to get you on the podcast? Right. And she said, all right, now I've got to come on. Right. So I had her on my podcast, The Influential Communicator, and it was a really cool episode. So I digress. Zoe's book is Influence is Your Superpower. I've got a copy of it somewhere in this room, but it's a really, really good. Highly recommend it. So Dr. Zoe Chance. Josh, there you go. And the book is called Influence is Your Superpower. Yep, really good book. Really good book. When I'm speaking with teams and whatnot, I always give that as a gift to certain people when they've participated in certain exercises, because I just think it's such a great book. It's such a great book, and it's not just for selling. It's about influencing in business and in life. So it's that little bit more broad. I know some of you may be used to reading like the Challenger Sale and Gap Selling, etc., but this is a little bit more holistic.
Ravi, I have no questions because there's so much information and things to revise. So
yeah.
a really amazing masterclass. Is there any more questions we can ask Ravi before we wrap up the masterclass?
Anything. Ask me anything, ladies and gents. Don't hold back. Do not hold back.
I think that's a wrap.
It's a wrap, ladies and gents. All right. Well, James, I'll let you do the walkout anthem.
That's cool. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Ravi, thanks for being such a superstar. The comments have been great. I think this is one that we need to recommend to all members to come back and watch. It's been an absolute highlight of the year so far. So thanks again. And let's get Ravi along to one of our dinners once he's settled and back on his feet, and entertain him. So thanks very much, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Ravi,
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.